if you do have a budget to have a PR Newswire account, that would be a good thing to do if you have that budget, because now you could put out a press release and it's on PR Newswire. Now, there is a whole lot of other type of PR distribution services, but they're just like at the top. So they're kind of like the Rolls Royce of it. They were kind of like the first in. So I would say that would be one to do.
Can I say this, Pam, and challenge that just a little bit and not get in trouble, because I think you're fantastic? I shy away from PR Newswire these days because as a journalist on the other side, we never looked at it. That was not something that we paid attention to. I think Business Wire is a different story just a bit, but a lot of what we're really looking for is just like that organic, natural coverage. So PR Newswire, back in the day, they would help with SEO, but in terms of like the journalist paying attention to it, not always. I'd recommend pitching one great reporter. It could be a local reporter at a syndicated outlet. And so that one reporter who is syndicated, that story goes from him, from the local ABC all the way up to the national ABC, maybe even global. So just pitching that right person may go further than, in my opinion, the newswires.
But how do we know if the person is syndicated or not?
Well, there are several syndicated organizations. Back in the day, I worked for a news feed, a national news feed. And so whatever stories I put on the national wire, I would feed down to the local affiliates, where sometimes there'd be a local reporter in Waco, Texas, who had a really great story with national appeal. And we would pick up that local story and feed it out on a national level.
And one of the things I say about using PR Newswire, if you put the story out on PR Newswire, then you can actually use it to pitch the reporter.
Yes.
So I say that. And it just looks a little bit more dignified, I guess you would say, than say one of these other, Johnny come lately PR distribution services. So that's why I said that, because now you're kind of looking like you're in the game. If you are, and Business Wire is good too, but depending on what it is, if it's not business, then it's like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. But PR Newswire, if you could take the link, and it does get picked up, it has good SEO, but take that particular link and then send it, and they'll see that it's from PR Newswire, and they're more likely to open it versus if they've never heard of it, because people don't want to get
absolutely spam. It's a this and definitely if you're going to do PR Newswire, you want to put it out there and also have it inside of a pitch. It's a great strategy.
Absolutely. And so, Pam, I know you talked about writing a press release and putting it out through tools such as PR Wire, right?
PR Newswire.
PR Newswire, that's right. So, Michelle, if you can jump in, let us know how to create a compelling press release. What are the elements that are needed in a great press release?
Well, first of all, I would say make sure you're thinking through why you're writing the press release before you write the press release, because I think for a lot of us, clients and C-suite executives will come and say, okay, we need a press release about X. And you're like, well, hold up a minute. You might need a press release, but maybe that's not the right vehicle. So that's where I start with that conversation. I think that things that are newsworthy for press releases would be like the appointment of a new executive, a new product launch, an acquisition, something that's actually newsworthy. And really what I'm thinking about when I'm writing the press release is how am I going to pitch this and who am I going to pitch it to that's actually going to write a story about it. Because I think that's really, to me, the point, not necessarily putting it on a newswire or anything like that, although I would advise sharing it on social media and posting it on your website, because I think that makes a nice history. People can go in and look up and see what you've been doing, see there's momentum there, and all of those things. But once you get to the press release itself, I would say make sure it's not too lengthy. You can link to more information. I usually like to keep them about a page and a half, something like that. You need your boilerplate, which is standard with every press release, compelling headline, subhead, grab them in the first paragraph. Those are some just quick tips, I think.
Explain, for those that don't know, Michelle, what a boilerplate is.
One time I was telling somebody about it and they thought I meant a boiler maker, and I'm like, what? You can have that after you write the boilerplate, maybe. But anyway, it's just an about paragraph, but I like it to be the same on every press release. And sometimes I work with clients that have like multiple companies, and so we have to figure out, like, do we do one for this company? Do we do just one that talks about all three companies? So I think it's nice to have consistency there. It just says, like, this company has been in business for X years. They're based here. We have locations around the world in these 9 countries. This is what we are most known for. It's kind of like that, just a kind of about informational paragraph.
Mhm. That's good. I consider press releases like the love language of journalists, right? Because, people say, well, I have the same information on my website. I said, but you're not going to send a report to your website. Okay. They want it in a press release. So people say, oh, press releases are dead. I said, but that's the most objective way where they're going to hear your story. So we don't want to send them an article that sounds like clickbait. So we want to send them a press release because the press release has the language what they're used to reading, and it's objective. So sometimes you can send someone some copy from something else, and it's not a press. It's subjective. So yeah,
it's the inverted pyramid. It's the who, what, why, when, why, where, how, and all that, and then just down to the less important. And they do ask for them. That's the thing. When people say they're dead, I'm like, well, reporters ask for them. And I just posted about that on LinkedIn not too long ago. I'm like, hey, they just asked me today for a press release. So I don't know if you folks think they're dead. I don't know.
No,
if they buy on your story, if a journalist is in agreement with the story, then they want to have the information. But what I hear back from media, and also kind of when I did the work, keep it short and sweet. Any press release over 2 pages is way too much, or in your email at this point, it's way too long. And all the different clicks, the links, everything taking you different places, they don't want all that. So maybe 1 or 2 redirects, but otherwise keep it short, sweet, simple. It's the news.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So probably no more than a page will probably that sweet spot, you think?
Yep. Okay. Maybe 2 to 3 quotes.
500 words, 750 meg.
Yep.
If you can do that, that would be excellent.
500, 750. Awesome. So we talked about from the very beginning creating a compelling narrative to making sure that narrative is authentic and in some cases vulnerable, because that could lead to better news coverage, and then building the relationships right after you created that narrative with these journalists and media people. And then from there, utilizing digital platforms such as, Twitter, LinkedIn. We also mentioned a couple other enterprise level tools that are possible if money wasn't an issue. And then what I want to talk about is after we've done all of that and the story is picked up, how do we actually measure the success of our PR efforts? We obviously need to make sure as startup brands to track everything, all the key metrics, so that we can optimize their PR strategies moving forward to get the desired results. But what are some key metrics that startups should track to measure their success with their PR efforts?
So
I'm gonna start. Yeah, I'm gonna start with, because I deal with personal brands of people, right? So the speakers and the authors, they're looking at, are my books selling? Are people asking me to speak? Those are like the main 2. And sometimes they'll look at, I've had people, request me to follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, that kind of thing. So they kind of look at their social media, they're growing their email list. So those are some of the things. But for people, whether they're in Speakers Magazine or something like that, are people going to their website requesting them to speak because they've seen them a story, they've seen them. And I always tell them it's kind of like a model of AIDA, as I learned that in college. Attention, interest, desire, and action. So we're getting their attention. Okay, so that's good. Now they're interested. That's like the second step. The desire, now they want it, and now they're taking action. So whatever that client wants that action to be, whether they're going to get their email address, buying a book, booking them to speak, but they have some kind of call to action that they're doing that. So, but the first part of any PR is to get the attention. And that's the part that really is the strategy part of, like, how do you get the attention? Where do you have to go? So for my clients, it's like, are they getting that action? Meaning, are they getting booked to speak, or are they selling their books?
Agreed, because definitely your business goals are first. Your comms goals support your business goals, right?
Yeah.
Then you have your comms strategy and tactics. It's not just media relations. There's so much more than just media when it comes to PR. About leadership, executive visibility, stakeholder engagement, then media relations, events. Those are all different ways to be able to elevate yourself. And when you go to your KPIs, it is talking about how many articles did we get, or how many social media followers did we grow? How many speaking opportunities were there? What was the sentiment and the impression? And then, of course, always we want to be able to measure sales. Nothing in PR is ever guaranteed. If someone says, I can guarantee you're going to sell so many books, they are not a true PR person. What you're doing is trying to create influence, not sales.
So do you think that a major KPI would be impressions around a certain piece of content or share of voice? What are your thoughts
yes,
there?
If your goal is brand awareness. If your goal is brand awareness, then you want to go with big impressions. But maybe it's not always about having a Kim Kardashian or someone being your spokesperson or being your big influencer, because that's brand awareness. She has all the followers, but is there engagement? Right now, the big sweet spot is called nano influencers. They might have 25,000 influencers or followers, but they're talking about something very niche and specific, and there's tons of engagement. They might be talking about something as simple as candles, right? He's the candle guy on social media, or he's on whatever. He's writing about it, but everyone follows him. They all engage, and that drives more sales than overall. If some big outlet, I won't say anyone, talks about your candle, it might be that nano influencer versus that big outlet.
Got it. So the KPI should factor in the influence of the nano influencer, or the amount of conversions that come from that particular source. You also have your overall goals that you're looking to reach to make sure that is PR moving the needle with the overall goals that we're trying to reach, such as events, conversions, selling books, speaking engagements, and so on. And so I guess one way to track that is if, you have an opportunity that's presented, you simply ask, well, how did you find me? Right? Or where did you hear about me? And then that also is something to note and could be attributed to the success or the conversion you're looking for.